Development environment topology. The intent behind this lecture is to explain how the development environment is set up. I will not be going through the details of all the components and parts of the setup in this lecture. This is just going to be a quick overview of what all components are there in the development environment. And then as we will go through the later lectures, I'll touch on the various aspects of this development environment topology in more details. The development environment setup is configured only for one organization called org1. The Docker Compose file defines multiple Docker containers which make up the infrastructure components for org1. There are predominantly 4 Docker containers which get instantiated or created as part of the development environment. First one is the certification authority container. Second one is the orderer container. Third is the peer container. And this peer container has a dependency on CouchDB for the state data. The configuration for all of these containers is managed in 2 folders. The crypto folder has all the crypto material, and the config folder has the configuration files for all of these containers. I've opened the Fabric Tools folder in the Visual Code. Here, as you can see, there are multiple shell scripts that are used for managing the development environment. I've already shown how the startfabric.sh works and how the downloadfabric.sh works. Later, you will see how the other scripts are used. Now, when you initiate start fabric, it checks the version of the container, and then it invokes the appropriate script under v1 or v11. v1 refers to the container version 1.x, and the v11 refers to the container version 1.1x. Now, all the videos that I have developed are using v1. Here, you would find that when the start fabric is invoked at the root level, the start fabric at the version level gets executed. So here, this is the shell script that gets executed. You would also find that within this, there is a composer folder that has the definitions for the containers. So here is the Docker Compose YML file that has all the services declared in it. This is the service for certification authority. Here is the orderer setup and the peer setup with an instance of CouchDB. The containers need access to the channel information and the Genesis block, which is available under the Composer folder. Composer-channel.txt is the channel configuration file, and the composer-genesis.block is the Genesis block or the 0th block for the blockchain network. All of the components in the infrastructure need certificate, and these certificates are managed in the crypto config folder. In the Fabric Tools setup, you will find a crypto config directory that has all the cryptographic material. Now, you must be wondering how the content for these 2 folders are created. The answer is that to generate the crypto material, a tool called CryptoGen is used, and to create the Genesis block and the channel transaction, a tool called config-tx-gen is used. I won't be covering the details of these 2 tools in this course, but if you're interested, the links for these 2 tools are in the resources. In this setup, there is one container that represents the certification authority infrastructure. In a typical scenario where there are multiple organizations that are part of the business network, there can be multiple certification authorities. There is one instance of the orderer, and this orderer is of type solo, which is fit for development only. In production, you will never use the solo orderer. Then there is an instance of CouchDB that provides the state management layer for the peer, and there is only one peer in this setup. Last but not the least, there are multiple utility scripts that are available for managing the development environment. I will cover some of these scripts in later lectures. Let's summarize. In this lecture, I provided you a high-level overview of the development environment setup. At this point, you should have a working development environment set up on your machine. And I would highly encourage you to look at the various parts of this Fabric Tools project. Especially go through the code for startfabric.sh and the docker compose.yaml file. You don't have to spend too much time on it, just get a feel of what's happening in these scripts. And if you have any question, feel free to post it on the Q&A for this course.